Welcome to another fun-filled Friday fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead, that's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and at Keena McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, too, you can catch up on our other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So if you happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, please find us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. And while you're at it, please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And speaking of War Media, why don't you give those guys a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, that's at War Media, WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up in the comment section next Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we get, we must remind you that you also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have that Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your personal PC or your Chromebook like I'm using right now, just head over to that Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
Yes, we will. All right, so we got a lot to do here on Second City Sports today. We're going to preview week one of the preseason. We'll recap a couple pretty entertaining games from last night, I should say. Also, too, we're going to have some baseball. Cubs have a very tough series coming up north, and the Sox will try to kind of get a little bit of a try to keep things on sort of like level playing field with everything that's been going on. And the rest of baseball. Also, too, we got some sports media news, some interesting, surprising moves happening, and a whole lot more. But Sid, take it away. We're going to start with some preseason football.
Yes, our Chicago Bears will host the Tennessee Titans on the lakefront tomorrow, Saturday afternoon at high noon at Soldier Field. You can watch that game locally on Fox 32. Nationally, you can watch the Bears feed on NFL Network. If you happen to miss it, just stay tuned to NFL Network. They'll replay those games along with the others from around the league all weekend. Lakina, of course, our guy Sean Sierra from Sean and Maya in the morning, and our boss here at Sports Zone Chicago, he'll be attending that game tomorrow. So hopefully he'll see an entertaining product, whether the Bears win or lose. So, Lakina, what I'm expecting tomorrow from at least from this Bears team, I want the offense to look sharp. I want to see how Justin Fields process this offense in year two. Luke Getsy, offensive coordinator for the Bears system. I want to see how he can operate in that. And from the defensive side, I know we'll break this down further coming up, but from the defensive side, I want to see pressure on the quarterback, whoever is going to play for the Titans tomorrow. I want to see pressure from the defensive front from the Chicago Bears. I want to see how Justin Fields looks in his office under year two of the Luke Getsy program, because we heard all the wonderful things in practice in the controlled environment. Like, it's now, even though it's preseason, it's time to put up a shut up and see how your offense looks against other teams.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how much Justin Fields play. I mean, Eberflus didn't really say how much he and the other stars, talking about Fields and the other stars, are gonna play. Mm-hmm. So will it be maybe one series? Will it be half the first half? I guess I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, look, I think for me, look, we've heard all this stuff. We know various folks who cover the team and have watched practices. I know everybody's been raving about how defense has looked, how DJ Moore and Fields he have a nice little rapport there. Then all the other stuff with the on the defensive side of the ball, I should say as well. So I'm interested to see how they're going to do this because I kind of feel like okay, yeah, we're expecting a lot from people are expecting a lot from this Bears team to make a little bit of a jump this year, but it'll be interesting to see
Mm-hmm.
do that. But like I said, I mean, people should not be upset if they don't show everything because that's what the preseason is not really just really for like the top guys. It's really for those middle round guys, for those third
Mm-hmm.
third round guys that probably came out of the practice squad or guys that were free agent signings in the preseason. So yeah, it'll be. I think for me, I'm trying to see look is how will Fields look and whatnot. Are we going to see a lot some of that other stuff too? I kind of want to see like guys like Deontay Foreman in the backfield, maybe how Robert Tonyan is, how much they're going to be used, or on the defensive side, we know about Noah Way, who we did the Bears just picked up. I want to see how Noah Sewell looks and others. So yeah, I may tune in for maybe just to see the starters, but preseason is always interesting because you want to see like how you won't see the starters that much, but you want to see how the other guys look.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, the Friday Fun Edition. I'm Sid. That's looking as we talk. Bears preseason football as they'll host the Tennessee Titans in their preseason opener tomorrow at the lakefront at high noon. You can watch that game locally here on Fox 32, nationally on NFL Network. Lakina, as we talked about all off season long and so far through this training camp, the offensive line has looked impressive. I want to see how Darnell Wright, the first round pick out of Tennessee, I want to see how he looks tomorrow as he tries to help those other four guys on the offensive line protect Justin Fields. I want to see how he looks. And on the defensive side, I don't think Doc Way, who they just signed over a week and a half ago, I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow. But I want to see how Tyreek Stevenson, that second round pick for Miami, looks in the secondary. I talked about him in the draft because I think the Bears and GM Ryan Poles, that was a very good sneaky pick in that second round. I want to see how he looks tomorrow in that secondary as well.
Yeah, and I also want to see how Nate Davis. I mean, there's a lot of buzz about him, so I'm wondering like how is he gonna look? So I think for me, there's like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of guys that are that are either drafted or they picked up in free agency that you want to see how they look. I mean, Bayless Jones, I know he's gonna want to prove himself, both not just as a punt returner but also as a receiver. Could he be kind of like part of
Good
that
call.
little receiving tandem, right? I mean, he didn't have a good rookie year last year, so I know there's going to be a lot expected from him. And Kwame St. Brown and how much they're going to use him and whatnot. So yeah, there's a lot of little things here that are real. Tevin Jenkins, I mean, his problem has
Mm-hmm.
been, can he stay healthy and among other things. So yeah, I mean, look, I don't know if Jack Samore is going to play much tomorrow. But yeah, I mean Demarcus Walker, who they picked up. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this team kind of meshes because yeah, it's great that the practice have been good, but now you're going to be playing not actually real football per se, but you're also going to be
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be seeing guys that are going to want to make the team and such. So remember how much we're actually going to see.
Yeah, and also too, looking at this depth chart for the Bears team, going back to the linebackers, as you talked about, Jack Zambor may not play tomorrow. It opens up for the other guys like Demarcus Gates and Buddy Johnson and Jalen Harris. We'll see out of those three guys can make an impact as well because those guys are trying to fight for jobs as well. I think if you're a Bears fan, which are you more excited for, the defense or the offense? I think most people will say the offense because of Justin Fields. We see, as I said at the top, how can he improve in this offense in year two of the Luke Getsy program? But I'm really looking forward to how this defense can perform because we talked about it in and out, looking up and down, front to back, side to side, that this defense was terrible last year, even after all the trades with Robert Quinn being traded to Philadelphia, after Roquan Smith being traded to Baltimore last year. I want to see the new fresh energy, the new players of this Bears defense, especially in the linebacker core. Can it get constant pressure on the quarterback on the Titans tomorrow?
Not gonna be interesting to see what happens with that now. I mean, Malik Willis, are we gonna see more Malik Willis? We'll see how he looks. He didn't have a good rookie year last year either for
We should talk
the
about Willis.
Titans, right? I always like when you do that. I mean, for me, I think the Titans know there are a lot of people are going to be wondering, like, will this? I don't want to say this is like a make or break year for Mike Vrabel, but you wonder is he on the hot seat, especially since they underachieved last year, especially Derrick Henry. You're starting to kind of see the wear and tear. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, like, okay, how are they gonna look? So, I'm interested to see what's gonna happen there. Now, I do want to give Coach Vrabel a shout out here. He actually is going to be letting Special Assistant Terrell Williams serve as a head coach for tomorrow's game. So that was a nice, give him an opportunity. He's a guy who's been around the league for about 15 to 20 years, played defensive end for many years, and he's
Mm-hmm.
getting his chance. He was on the list of various coaching jobs, but I'm glad that he's actually, Vrabel's actually gonna give it a shot to coach. That was actually a pretty nice, that's a very nice thing that he's doing it. So that's really cool.
Yeah, props to Coach Vrabel. And also, to Lakina, speaking of Derrick Henry, I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow or not. If he is, it's only probably be for about a series, if that. I
Right.
doubt it if DeAndre Hopkins, who they picked up during the offseason, the star wide receiver, they used to be with the Arizona Cardinals, of course, the Houston Texans many years ago. He got his fresh cash. I doubt if he plays tomorrow. And like you said, who starts at quarterback for Tennessee? I doubt if it's Ryan Tannehill. It'll probably be Malik Willis or the other quarterback that lost it in the last game in the regular season last year to Jacksonville. He'll probably get the start. But as far as the Bears are concerned, Lakina, I know everybody talks about the offense, and I'm looking forward to watching them as well, especially the first unit. That first unit for the Bears defense, they're really going to set the tone or how this program has been going on in practice. Like we said, we want to see this all in action now. In a controlled environment in practice is one thing, but you're going to have to test yourself out against live competition against other players, and that's really going to show you how much progress have you been making.
All right, let's second see sports on Sports on Chicago. Keita McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Let's recap these two games, and we'll talk about some of the preseason games coming up tonight and today and tomorrow. Houston, New England. Houston 20-9 over New England. I know that some people are wondering, could New England be a sleeper in the AFC East? I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. But on Texans, Davis Mills had a nice showing. Case Keenum, C.J. Stroud, not so much. I mean, he was only 2 for 4 for only 13 yards. He had an interception, so not a good opener for him. I think for me, it's going to be interesting to see. Like we're wondering, like, could the Texans? I don't know. They got this whole new coaching staff, so we'll just see what happens with that. And also, too, I know the Patriots. I doubt that Bill Belichick was going to show a lot yesterday, so I'm not freaking out. Matt Jones didn't play, so whatever. That's it's fine.
Yeah, like you said, Mac Jones didn't play. That's one thing that I noticed last night. And like you said, Coach Belichick or Belichick, as we call him on the show, doesn't like to show his hand too much. But if you're not getting the job done and he wants to send a message, you will play a little bit more than he's supposed to in the preseason. Just ask those New England Patriots players that won the Super Bowl 20 years ago about that. But on the flip side, for the Houston Texans, you mentioned C.J. Stroud didn't look good, but who does, especially in the preseason? That's what preseason is for, to work on things, get the kinks out, and make adjustments. But I know Jalen Mills picked up one of his passes last night and almost returned it to the house. But new head coach DeMeco Ryans, former NFL player, former one-time Texan. Of course, he was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers for the last few years. Now he leads the Houston Texans. I know it's a preseason game, Lakina. I think that C.J. Stroud will get better by the end of the year. That's what most rookie quarterbacks tend to happen, the ones that become great. But looking at his snapshot last night, Lakina, they're not going to have a problem on defense.
No,
they're not.
Yeah,
they're not going to have a problem on defense. I like what I saw from the first unit all the way down to the backups. They were flying all around the ball last night. I know offensively they had Damian Pierce, their running back. They still got to get a couple more playmakers in there as far as wide receivers are concerned. I'm talking about the Texans. But I like the way that the defense played last night from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know Ryan's played defensive end, and he's a defensive guy. So yeah, I think I have no doubt that he is going to have that part of the defense, that part of the team ready. So I think that defense is going to give the Texans some other teams some problems for there. But this I actually saw a little bit of this game after that. This Minnesota and Seattle 24-13. Minnesota loses at home, but Kirk Cousins didn't play. Geno Smith didn't play either. So, it was sort of kind of like a wash there. But, Nick Mullins looked okay. Could be maybe that's a number 2 spot right behind Cousins. And Drew Lock actually looked pretty good. 2 touchdowns and 191 yards passing. So, yeah, I mean, look, you can kind of take it for what it's worth. I mean, it's a preseason, so, 24-13, whatever. But it was actually an entertaining game. So, for a preseason game, but yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, like you said, Drew Lock looked good as he tried to battle for that second spot, the backup quarterback spot for Seattle. As you mentioned, Geno Smith did not play last night. Most of the stars on the Vikings as well, they did not play. So as far as the preseason is concerned, you're going to get a lot of looks for the backups, and then their backups behind this. Your second, third, sometimes fourth stringers will get a lot of looks in the preseason. Now it goes from 4 to 3. It's been like that for the last couple of seasons. So a lot of the backups, your third stringers are going to get a lot of looks. So be prepared for that. The only thing that really impressed me, Lakina, I don't know if you called this before the game, but did you catch the one-handed grabs in pregame from both Justin Jefferson and DK Metcalf?
Yeah, they were putting like a little bit of a chess match. That was hilarious how they did that. So it was actually pretty funny. Yeah, but yeah, I know, right? I know. I think Metcalf actually got the best of Jefferson there, but but it was actually pretty close. So I'm sure there's going to be a rematch. I'm sure at some point. But yeah, that was actually pretty funny. That was the best part of it last night. So that was actually pretty. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. So if you guys didn't get a chance to see it live, now going through the rest of this weekend's games, we'll start with tonight's games. Green Bay and Cincinnati. That'll be on NFL Network at 6 o'clock tonight. We'll see how much we see of Mr. Jordan Love, if at all. So we'll see what happens with that. The Giants and the Lions. Again, we'll see if there's going to, I doubt we're going to see a lot of the starters there on both teams. Just be warned, folks. Atlanta and Miami. Interesting. We'll see. Yeah, I'll say that we'll see Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay. That's going to be also at 6 o'clock. And the late games, you got Washington and Cleveland and Denver and Arizona. That'll be the second game of that NFL Network doubleheader.
All right, your schedule for Saturday looks like this tomorrow, Saturday on NFL Network. As I mentioned, at high noon, everybody in the country on the NFL Network will get to see the Titans and the Chicago Bears. Also at noon tomorrow, we'll have Indianapolis at Buffalo. I doubt that most of the stars from both teams will play, especially on Buffalo's side. I want to see how Anthony Richardson looks in his first professional start. He's the rookie quarterback for the Colts. Of course, at 3 o'clock tomorrow on NFL Network, we'll have the New York Jets at the Carolina Panthers. No Aaron Rodgers for this one. He's going to set out the preseason and look for those extra cameras from NFL Films as they film Hard Knocks for the Jets. We'll get into that later. I got some issues with that. Finish out the Saturday schedule. The Jacksonville at Dallas, Philadelphia at Baltimore, and the Chargers will visit Los Angeles to take on the Rams in that infamous LA City battle.
Well, going back to the Jets-Panthers game, we'll just see how Bryce Young looks for the Panthers. So I'm looking forward to that. And a doubleheader on Sunday to finish up week 1. You got Kansas City and New Orleans. And I doubt you'll see, again, stars for either team playing. I'm just going to go on a limb there. 49ers and the Raiders. That'll be the second game of that NFL Network doubleheader. Check your local listings if those games are not going to be on your area on NFL Network. I want to talk a little bit about there was a veteran at QB that Kyle Shanahan admitted that they did call during the offseason. So remind me to pay off that tease later.
Okay. It's break time right here on Second City Sports as we start to rock and roll on this fabulous Friday program. We'll get into baseball. Lakina, the Sox make news on the field and off the field again. The Cubs, as we told you, they have a tough road trip ahead. They're going through it right now. But Sid's going to tell you why you should not worry if you're a Cubs fan. And you're going to like some of this logical facts that I'm going to drop on you. That and a whole lot more. And we had a no-hitter in baseball a couple of nights ago. And there's a couple Chicago connections connected to that no-hitter from the Philadelphia Phillies as well. That and a whole lot more as we dip into the whole world of Major League Baseball. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to the Friday edition of Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this fun Friday fun edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. There you go, Lakina. And she doesn't disappear that dummy for a second. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
That thing won't cooperate. You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, and Keena's going to be on the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. So let's get right to it and talk a little bit of Diamond, as you guys are seeing on the screen there. We're gonna, start with locally first. So obviously, the Cubs, lose a tough series against the Mets. I mean, look, we saw that maybe this would happen. Unfortunately, I mean, they got their butts kicked in the opener, 11-3. They come back and win 3-2, but unfortunately, they lost a tough one in the rubber match that. They probably could have won that game, but I'm not going to go into like a big tangent about that. But they do have a tough series starting tonight against Toronto. Toronto's actually been pretty good lately, so that's going to be a very tough series for them. But they're actually sending out their rookie Assad to start. So now that Smiley is on, the Moose, Drew Smiley to the bullpen. Thank goodness. After that, just going there on that Monday game. But they do have Javier Assad, so not a bad, pretty, good luck, Javier, facing the likes of Vlad Jr. and George Springer and Bo Bichette, and not a bad test. Sorry, good luck, sweetie. But I'm sure. But we can see how he does tonight. But I think. Look, we'll talk about the rest of the NL Central in a second because no one's gonna. Like we told you, no one's gonna pull away from that division. But I think look, if they can kind of get together, they could just don't get swept by Toronto. You got a pretty solid you got a pretty solid schedule after this. I mean, you can kind of make a little bit of inroads here after the Toronto series. You got the White Sox Tuesday and Wednesday. Then you got Kansas City. Then you go on the road for 3 at Detroit. Then you go 4 at Pittsburgh. You've actually been playing pretty well against Pittsburgh before you get to that Milwaukee series at the end of the month. So they can make a little bit of inroads here. So I'm, look, just win one game against Toronto and I'll be fine. But I'm not freaking out right now. I'm not.
And as I said, excuse me, as I said before the break, if you're a Cubs fan, you should not freak out because one, they're in the NL Central, that's obvious. But they've been showing signs that there's some of the players that we've been questioning off and on throughout the season. They're starting to show some signs. Seiya Suzuki had a home run the other night in that 3-2 loss to the New York Mets. I know he's been sat down for the last few games, but his bat is actually starting to show up. Jameson Taillon, he had 7 strikeouts in that, only winning their series on Tuesday. It looks like he's finally starting to come around and to prove that that free agent signing all season wasn't just going up in smoke. Kyle Hendricks, he had an ERA over 6 in his last 4 or 5 starts. Remember, Lakina said, I don't know about Kyle Hendricks. He needs to pick up, especially with Marcus Stroman being on the IL right now with that hip injury. Me personally, I think it's just a break too, but that's a whole nother issue. But Kyle Hendricks looked good on Wednesday, even though it was a game that the Cubs should have won. He had 6 strikeouts in 5 innings, so it looks like he can build on that and he can turn it around. So as I said before, we said before all season long, if the Cubs get good, solid starting pitching, and because this team is going to put up runs. That's not even a question now. I'm not saying this offense is a 27 Yankees, but if the Cubs could put up between 4 and 6 runs a game with that starting pitching, you should be fine. Albert Alzolay is their closer. He's your closer for now to the end of the season. He should stay there. Your rest of your starting pitching should pick it up. Like I said, Drew Smalley, he doesn't need to be in the starting rotation no more. He's in a bullpen at best, okay? So as long as you get Stroman back, your top 3 stars will be Stroman, Taillon, and Kyle Hendricks. If Kyle Hendricks continues this upward trend, the Cubs should be fine. And let's not forget about Mike Tomlin as well. He had a good, solid game the other night in that series against the Mets. So the Cubs are still in this thing. Like you said, they got to be more than competitive this weekend against Toronto. I think Justin Steele, their starter, he's your top 4 starter in that rotation. My bad for exit him out. No pun intended. But I think he goes on Sunday. But the Cubs. Yeah, tomorrow. Okay.
Yes.
But still, the Cubs still should be fine. Long as you squeak out and win, you will prefer 2. But as long as you do not come out of Toronto with your tail between your legs, you should be fine. So you start to see some signs that the Cubs players I just mentioned, they were trending downwards. They're starting to trend upwards.
Yeah, as long as they don't get swept by Toronto and they get their butts kicked. I mean, I think, look, if it's close and Toronto wins, on a walk off, okay, look, that's fine. But look, I think you got to be feeling pretty good. You're in a good position. You're in the Cubs, right? You're only 2.5 back in that division, and you're still with about a game and a half in the wild card, so that last wild card spot. So no one's going to pull away from either sense. So I think, look, just get through these games, get through the Toronto series, get through the, that way you can have the quote unquote easy part of your scheduling. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, before you start, because you got to face the Brewers and the Reds back to back after that little slate of games I talked to you guys about. So, make some inroads, get to within like a half a game, or maybe even perhaps leading the Central by then. So we'll see. I mean, a lot can happen these next couple of weeks. So looking forward to seeing what happens there. And like you said, I mean, look, I think Smiley might be better off being the setup guy. He's not a starter. He really has never been. So I'm not too worried about him. But look, if guys like Seiya, Morel, Bellinger, he had a really great series. He even lost the series. But yeah, I think, look, this is going to be one of those things where, look, the summer of Tauchman, as Cubs are touting it. So the summer of Mike Tauchman. So yeah, as long as he's doing well, look, the Cubs can be right there if they just keep doing what they're doing, and they can't worry about what the Reds and the Brewers are doing. They got to only focus on what they're doing right now, taking one game at a time. Yeah,
as we said, Lakina, those bats will continue to heat up for this Cubs team. They have to continue to stay hot as the health of the starting staff will hopefully start to come around, in particular Marcus Stroman whenever he gets back. So like you said, Lakina, just look respectable this weekend against Toronto. You can squeeze one game out of them, which I think they will, but can you get 2 Obviously, if you sweep them, the sky's the limit. But I think they'll get one. But your goal is to get two, win the series. If they can't, like I said, it'll give them a very much a boost, shot up as you say, you head into the schedule for the rest of the month before you face Milwaukee.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting what happens with that. It's Second City Sports. On Sports on Chicago, like Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown with you. I mean, we'll start with on the south side. I mean, still some stuff that have come out, but we'll get to the off-field stuff in a second. But look, they won two. The Sox won 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. Okay, I mean, look. I mean, the Yankees have struggled this year, so you can't really. I mean, yes, it's always good to win a series against the Yankees. I know Sox fans are kind of like, this is like the best series of the season so far, but I mean, it's kind of hard when there have been guys that have been out and out of the lineup, so I can't really get too excited about that. But look, Clevenger had a nice start on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Colas looked really good in the series as well. So okay, I mean. All right. I have nothing else to say, so I'll let you take it, Sid.
Yeah, Dylan Cease looked impressive the other night as well, and he'll go Sunday against the Milwaukee Brewers in his next start. I'll be at that contest. But the bats finally woke up for the White Sox. That was very encouraging. What the hell happened to this the first 2 months of the season? But I digress. But but the New York Yankees, on the flip side, they didn't look good. The Aaron Judge, I think he didn't look good in that series. I know John Carlos saying I believe he had 1 home run in that series. So the Sox had a good game plan to neutralize those 2 big bats, and they did just that. Shout out to Yankees TV voice Michael Kay. I think the White Sox, I think this was on Monday, they were giving out those White Sox Yacht Rock hats. He displayed one on the Yankees broadcast. I put that picture up on my Twitter timeline, so go find that. But the White Sox offense looked great, and they're taking advantage of a struggling Yankees team. As I said before with the Yankees, no Judge, no playoffs, but they have other problems, i.e. injuries in their starting rotation. Former White Sox starter Carlos Rodon, he left his last start the other night with a soreness in his hamstring. I don't know if he's ever going to pitch again this season, and I know Yankees fans are upset with him. But back to the White Sox, they did what they had to do. I guess you can perform well with no pressure underneath you. Let's see if they can keep this up. I know some folks in that organization want to value more wins over player development since the season's typically quote-unquote over. But we'll see how well this team plays as they face another playoff caliber opponent this weekend in Milwaukee starting tonight.
Yeah, you can help the Cubs out a little bit too. The Sox can, with maybe taking the series there. But I mean, look, Colas looked good. Like I said, Cease had a great outing. Clevenger looked good, probably his best outing in the last couple of months. So, I mean, look, he did what you had to do against a struggling Yankees squad. I mean, I figured they were probably going to win this series because the Yankees have been struggling. They can't, Judge actually had a couple of big home runs in the one game that Sox lost. But like you said, I mean, they've been, guys in and out of lineup. That starting pitching hasn't been consistent, so it's kind of hard to get too encouraging about it. Like you said, so, I mean, you listen to the guys at the top of the front office. You always say that, well, you know what? Look, let's develop Colas. Some of these other guys that they brought up. I mean, the win-loss thing, okay, whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it's just like, okay, all right. I have nothing to say here about the Sox. I mean, I know all the TA stuff and all that drama, and I'm kind of over it at this point. Like, if he demands a trade, during the off season, I wouldn't be shocked. But what can you do, right? What can you do?
Yeah, like you said, that with the White Sox, they think they take 1 step forward, they take 2 steps back. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this either, but of course the reports came out that Yasmani Grandal and Tim Anderson had an altercation the last game before the All-Star break against St. Louis. Of course, allegedly Yasmani Grandal slapped Tim Anderson after Tim Anderson said, "I'll pay for your ticket to get out of town," because Grandal, even though he didn't start that game, he wanted to leave early, go spend time with his family. Tim Anderson took exception to it, and allegedly Tim Anderson got slapped by Yasmani Grandal. Of course, Grandal came out to me and said it's not true, blah, blah, blah. Then Rick Kahn wants to throw Kenyon Milton under the bus. Of course, if you don't know, Kenyon Milton told Jesse Rogers of ESPN.com that it was a no rules clubhouse for when he was a member of the White Sox. Now he's a member of the Yankees, and of course, the White Sox being petty as usual, not putting Kenyon Milton's picture on the scoreboard when he came into the game the other night. It's just a big mess over there. With the White Sox, as I said before, and I'll say it again, they can't blame nobody but themselves. If they don't get the benefit of the doubt, and they don't deserve one, whether people like it or not.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to talk about that stuff. I mean, that stuff is just like, there seems to be a lot. This has been going on forever. It's not new. This isn't start with Tony Lewis that came back. This has been going on for what, about 25, 30 years now. So, it's just the names and faces have changed. That's about it. So I'm not going to, like I said, I don't want to get into a long little tangent about it. So, it is what it is, but what can you do? Let's talk about some of the rest of the stuff that happened around baseball. There was a no-hitter this week, on Wednesday, and it was Michael Lorenzen. It is first start with the Phillies. Really a great. I actually saw the highlights of this. He became the 5th pitcher in MLB history to throw a no hitter in a home debut with a team, a different team, because he was playing with the Angels, I think. Well, was the Red? Yeah, to play with the Angels earlier this year.
The Tigers earlier this year.
Tigers. Yeah, I would say the Tigers. Yeah, I knew it was something somewhere in the AL. But yeah, he had and Don Cardwell for the Cubs back in 1960. They're the only ones to do it since 1900, and the 3 guys that did it in the 19th century. So he joins a pretty impressive list. It's only like very short list. So also too, he's the 3rd pitcher in the expansion era since 1961 to throw a no hitter after playing for a previous team that season. It led to the Nationals being no hit for the first time since before they even moved to Washington. So, take it for what it's worth there. So yeah, you saw like, it was a really sweet moment. His mother and his wife, they were jumping up and down. So the 14th no hitter for the Phillies. The last to do that was, of course, the late great Roy Halladay a few years back with the perfect game in the playoffs. So what was it? Did you see the moment? And also it's a Chicago connection too. Sid will tell you about that.
Yeah. So first of all, I watched that whole game in its entirety from start to finish. A great call by Tom McCarthy on NBC Sports Philadelphia. He had a great call. He did the game with John Kruk. And so they had also that Wilson kid. He had his first home run in his first at bat. So congratulations to him as well.
Wilson,
he did. Yeah, and he did that in the first inning. So his family was there as well.
Yeah, that was a really great first. Yeah, that's Marlon Anderson all the way back in 1998.
Yeah. And so congratulations to that young man as well. I know that's going to get lost in the shuffle a little bit, but we want to send him some love as well. But like you mentioned, Lakina, as I teased before the break, there's a Chicago connection to this. One will start in the broadcast booth. John Kruk, who did the game with Tom McCarthy on Thursday. Remember, he played for the White Sox for that 1 year in 1995. And unfortunately for him, that was a trend downward in his career. Number 2, the last no-hitter that was thrown by the Philadelphia Phillies was Cole Hamels. It was back in July 26th of 2015. Where did that happen? Here in Chicago, but up north against the Chicago Cubs. And I remember that game. We were producing the 2 shows down at ChicagolandSportsRadio.com on that faithful Saturday afternoon. The number 3 connection was Jake Diekman, I think still the member of the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen. He was part of the Philadelphia Phillies back then, so there's your 3rd connection from Chicago. And, of course, your 4th is obvious, Kyle Schwarber of the Phillies. Of course, 2016 World Champion with the Cubs.
Yeah, who was the first guy out there to hug, congratulate the Riz on his no-hitter. So, so it was nice, nice little showing there, his first career no-hitter. So, that was a really great moment there. Also, to Miguel Cabrera, he passed both Tony Gwynn and Robin Yount on the hits list. Now he's got 3,442 home runs. Next up is Pirates legend Paul Wanner, who has 3,152. So he had a couple of hits this week. So I want to give him a little some love there. What else caught your eye in MLB this week, Sid?
Speaking of the NL Central, of course, Milwaukee takes 2 out of 3 from Colorado. Well, as we said earlier this week, looking in our last show on Monday, the Cincinnati Miami Marlins series could be an elimination series. Well, the Marlins came up big, winning 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati. Of course, Cincinnati's often struggled. Of course, their starting pitching is not good. As we told you guys at the trade deadline, they need to do something. They didn't do it, so you see what's happening now. Also, too, you mentioned the Phillies National Series. Philly took 3 out of 4 in that series. Back to that clown division, in which we call it the AL Central. The Tigers lose 3 out of 4 in Detroit, while Toronto and Cleveland split their 4-game series.
I mean, like I said, I mean, look, like I said, I mean, look, I've been saying all these long AL Central is pure comedy. I mean, look, they took 3 out of 4 from the Twins, and it's sort of yeah, they took 3 out of 4 from the Twins. So yeah, I mean, that was just weird how this is those Minnesota shot to put a little bit of distance between themselves and Cleveland. They weren't able to do that, so they put a little bit. They did get 1 game, but they lost the last 3. So that was just not a good showing there. But the Dodgers, on the flip side, though, the Dodgers, like, they're starting to kind of get it going. Here they've won 5 in a row. They win 2 out of 3, of course, against the Padres, finishing up that 3 out of 4 against the Padres. They finished up the series, and they beat Arizona both the games down in Arizona. So. That could be, they're now, that could be it for them. Bye-bye, Diamondbacks. And they won the opener last night against Colorado. So they're starting to kind of get it going. We know what Freddie Freeman, what he's been doing. Kershaw, his return looked very sharp last night and a no decision. But the Dodgers were able to win that late. And, things are kind of starting to get it. They're actually starting to heat up the Dodgers. So they might, they might. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win, the NL and go back to the World Series, but they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, in these dog days of summer in August, the veteran team like the Dodgers, as we said, they have a lot of new parts, but they're headed by their manager Dave Robertson. He's got these guys through a tough stretch. And right now, as you mentioned, they're doing the job. The team that's not doing the job in their same division outside of Arizona is the San Diego Padres. Yeah. They got swept by your Mariners, Lakina, and they put them in a mandatory team meeting.
Well, did you see? I think it was Tuesday. I think it was Monday night. Did you see that catch by Julio Rodriguez?
Yes, he fooled everybody. Yes,
he fooled everybody. So robbed him a home run. Tatis was already doing his home run trot, and sure enough, hey, Rodriguez.
I ain't got it.
I got it.
I got
it. Hi. So now they're 7. They've won 7 in a row. They're now 5.5 back in this. And the West, I think they're only a couple games back in the wild card. So they're starting to heat up a little bit, which is nice to see. Let's see here.
Atlanta split their 4-game series on the road against the Pirates. They've been playing around 500 ball since the All-Star break. I'm talking about the Atlanta Braves. I don't think they had too much to worry about. Just hopefully don't have any complacency set in between now and in the playoffs. I think they have the NL East Division wrapped up, but hopefully complacency doesn't set in. I know they have a couple of injuries right now, but hopefully those are not too serious. As we mentioned, Philadelphia a couple months ago, looking at they're there right now. Miami Marlins, they're barely hanging around. As I mentioned, they won 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati this week. The Mets, they still stink. I'm not even going to go through that, even though they took the series from the Cubs. Oh, let's get to this real quick, Lakina. The Baltimore Orioles, they finished their 6-game homestand between the Mets and the Astros. They avoided the sweep yesterday by winning the series finale against the Houston Astros in the rain. But did you check out what they did to Kevin Brown, their TV voice? That was ridiculous.
Yeah. For those who don't know, this happened a couple of weeks back. He actually
July 23rd.
And I think apparently, I guess he said some things about. Well, he wasn't being insulting. He wasn't, basically, he wasn't insulting anyone. He was just saying, "Hey, look, this is how it was." So, but apparently, I guess John Angelos, the owner, didn't like that. His dad was like that too, was a pain in the butt. But we won't go there. But yeah, I mean, it was great to see, and I guess he's supposed to come back. I guess next week
tonight.
But tonight. But I guess the social media kind of went nuts, which as they should. You saw you saw Boo Sciambi, you saw Jason Benetti, you saw Michael Kay, all the top baseball play-by-play guys. You're kind of rallying around him. They were the crowd at Camden Yards were round round too. So yeah, that was actually really nice to see. So yeah, I don't know if he parked in someone's parking spot. Talk about Kevin Brown did Well, what the heck happened? That was just a little bit. That was kind of nutty to me. But really, now we're going to be suspending people for you're. Some people are not quick to dismiss my way to say something racist or sexist or homophobic or anything like that. But yet, when someone tells the truth, you want to yank them out of there. Really, John Andrews, really.
Yeah, it was a game on July 23rd. Baltimore was taking on Tampa Bay. And Kevin Brown was just pointing out that Baltimore has struggled in recent memory down there in Tampa Bay. That's all he said. And like I said, it was nothing insulting, nothing racist, homophobic, anything like that. I get it. Most of these teams, all these teams in all formation sports, well said, with the exception of the NFL, because of the TV games are nationally televised. But these owners of these teams wanted to control, since they paid the announcers, they didn't want to control the message. And I get it. But like you said, Kevin Brown didn't step out of line. He just basically said the fact that throughout recent history, Baltimore has struggled in Tampa. That's a fact.
Last few years, and Tampa too. I mean, they didn't have up until this season. I mean, what I think they had like a 25 or 30%, winning percentage against them or something like that, with like in 5 or 6 years. So it wasn't like he wasn't saying anything bad. He was just spewing facts. So I know they want their people, their guys and gals to be homerish and stuff like that, but you got to say the truth every once in a while. I mean,
exactly.
They had their struggles in Tampa. It's a fact. It's not like he was trying to be mean or. Oh God, I don't know. It's just 2023, boy. But
I'm glad Kevin Brown will be returning to the booth tonight.
He's really good. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, and plus he's been doing stuff at ESPN the last couple of years with college baseball and college basketball, and so he's going to be fine. But I'm glad he's returning to the booth tonight, and everybody, including like you said, that fan base spoke out, and it looks like it's made a difference.
Yeah, I'm glad everybody spoke out. So yeah, use your power, folks, for good, not for not for evil. Going into this weekend's game, some really good ones here. You got Cleveland and Tampa starting tonight. That should be a fun series. The Yankees and Marlins, that will probably be an elimination series too here for this one. Another elimination series for Miami, Minnesota, Philadelphia. That should be a fun. So I know Minnesota wants to get that Tiger series out of their mouth. So. That should be an interesting series as well. Oakland and Washington. Yeah. Sorry. No shade to Oakland and DC fans. Sorry about that. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. That should be interesting because Pittsburgh, they could play spoiler for somebody. So Cincinnati better watch their back. And just a special note for all you guys in Chicago and Toronto, the first game of that Cubs Blue Jay series will be streamed on Apple TV Plus, unless you got MLBTV.com. You're not gonna be able to. That's the only place you're gonna be able to watch it. So let's do it on 670 The Score with Pat Hughes in the gang. You might be better off anyway. Atlanta and New York.
That was the series back in the late 90s into 2000. Ugh.
Yeah,
I might have times have changed.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And well, this is supposed to be like this was for first place in the NL East earlier this season. So
not now.
Okay, exactly. Detroit takes on Boston.
Okay, and finish out the rest of the schedule for tonight and for the weekend. You have the LA Angels visiting the Houston Astros. We have St. Louis and Kansas City in the Battle of Missouri. The rematch of that 85 World Series. Yay.
Yes. Woo-woo. Some of those guys weren't even born yet. Go figure.
Exactly. San Diego will visit Arizona. That's definitely an elimination series. Yeah. We have Baltimore at Seattle tonight. So we're hoping the return of Kevin Brown. Hopefully the Seattle fans will be gracious and give him a high five.
I'm sure they will be.
Yeah. We'll have Colorado resuming their 4-game weekend series at Los Angeles against the Dodgers. And we'll have the Texas Rangers against the San Francisco Giants. That's the second game of the Apple TV Plus Friday night doubleheader. And that's at 9 o'clock.
All right, for your Saturday stuff, you got a 3 parts here, 3 games for regional coverage. Of course, all of us here in Chicago will get the Cubs the Sox, I should say, as they host the Brewers. You can help the Cubs out, Sox, just saying. We'll see if Luis Robert Jr. plays, this weekend. Atlanta and the Mets, and also to Houston and Los Angeles, the Angels. Those are your 3 regional coverage games for the Fox Saturday game of the week. And also game 2 of the Baltimore-Seattle series on FS1 will be at 8:40. So I'll definitely be checking that out.
And your national TV schedule for Sunday looks like this. On Peacock, we'll have Detroit at Boston for Fenway Park at 11 o'clock Chicago time. And your Sunday night baseball game of the week will feature the Atlanta Braves at New York to take on the Mets. That's at 6 o'clock on ESPN. That's Sunday.
Yeah, and that is your schedule for MLB this weekend.
Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 is straight ahead as you're listening to the Friday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll have sports media news coming up. FS1's Undisputed are going through some major changes. It may pay off in the long run. We'll see. We have a top 10 list from the NFL. Get ready because the defensive lineman, you're up next. And we'll have a whole lot more fun as we'll get into the action for the weekend and a whole lot more. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to Second City Sports. Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Don't move a muscle.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the Fun Friday Fun Edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow Makina McGee on the Twitter and Makina McGee on the IG.
We have less than 50 minutes left for this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. If you want to join in on the conversation, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Makina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
All right, Sid, where do you want to go here? Because there's a lot of directions that we have to talk about this next hour.
Yeah, let's continue with the football discussion. Of course, HBO's Hard Knocks debuted earlier this week as they featured the 2023 New York Jets. Lakina had the chance to check out the episode last night. And as I've heard other people talk about before I checked out the episode, of course, this particular episode focused in on Aaron Rodgers, the new quarterback for the New York Jets, of course, longtime Green Bay Packer. He comes off as a likable guy, getting used to his new teammates. Of course, they feature Garrett Wilson, the now second-year wide receiver, and Sauce Gardner. Congratulations to him, the second-year defensive back out of the University of Cincinnati. They showed him graduating from college. Him and his mother. His mother was very proud, and so congratulations to Mr. Gardner on that. But they didn't feature too much on the backup players. I'm sure they'll do that starting next week. But they did a lot also on the now third-year head coach Robert Saleh, as he said, and I quote, as they dug in deep into the Nathaniel Hackett, Sean Payton back and forth babble that happened a couple weeks ago. If you don't have any haters, you ain't popping.
Happy
50th anniversary to hip hop.
Yeah, I'll say happy 50th anniversary to hip hop. Yeah, definitely gonna be listening to some hip hop this weekend. That was actually pretty funny how Coach Saleh kind of took that. I'm like that's the only thing you can do. I mean, look, if you want to prove everyone wrong, let it be known on the field. So I'm not I'm not like gonna freak out too much with their game against Cleveland. I mean, okay, whatever, but look, it was actually pretty entertaining. Look, you got Tanzel Smart, Carter's security board, Coochie board, or whatever that he said. I mean, in his defense, I've heard a lot of people say that. So it's not cut the guy a little bit of slack there. But yeah, it was great to see Sauce Gardner. I saw that video where he did get his degree. I know he promised his mom he would go back to school and do that. I think he only like a couple of classes left, so it really wasn't that hard. He was doing a couple of summers, but I thought it was pretty good. I'm sure if you're a Jets fan, you better hope that they actually do well. Of course, all this stuff, I know they didn't want to do it. They were basically forced to do it. The NFL forced their hand. But look, ignore the noise and all that. Look, our girl Christy Manica for KXRP, of course, she's off for the rest of the month, so you're not gonna see her, unfortunately, on here for the rest of this month. But she did say that he thought that Aaron Rodgers kind of put on kind of a persona, I guess. You saw him and Gardner have that little kind of a bromance going. You saw him kind of like, talking to, the other defensive guys, and also to the online guys. And, Chris Strevler's, his girlfriend, you saw him, he was kind of like dancing along with some of the music that they got pumping over there. And his girlfriend kind of made fun of him for that. But he said, wait, he can't dance. Why does he dance? He said he doesn't have rhythm or something like that, she said. But it was hilarious. But yeah, it was pretty funny. But yeah, look, I think as long as they can kind of, not let it distract them for what they want to do. I know, win the the NFC, the AFC, I should say, I can't talk to the AFC East, and perhaps maybe win that division, going to the Super Bowl or whatever. I don't know if it's Super Bowl or a bust for them, because Rodgers signed that contract for another couple more years. But I think you better at least try to contend for a division, because all this noise and all this other stuff can be a little bit distracting. And that's probably why I didn't want it at first, but we'll see. We'll see in a few weeks.
And plus, the first 6 games of the regular season will be tough, and so it's going to tell a whole lot more about the New York Jets and then what's going on right now. Of course, with training camp, he's trying to establish a foundation, establish an identity. So, especially with the focus on Aaron Rodgers with that first episode this week. You mentioned trying to get used to new teammates, and most of those teammates are half his age. And I think Sauce Gardner said it best. So, I think, was it him or was it that wide receiver Wilson? I forgot which one it was. I think it was Garrett Wilson. He said, I was 10 years old when I saw you win your first Super Bowl. I was like, damn, I'm old. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, I was 10 years old. I watched him win that Super Bowl back in 2010. Now I'm playing with him. I can tell my kids one day that I played with the GOAT and blah, blah, blah. So, of course, Aaron Rodgers was flattered by that and everything else that came with it. But, Lakeem, did you check out this scene where the narrator for Hard Knocks since its inception, Liv Schreiber, the great narrator, actor, he came in via helicopter, and he was interviewing Aaron Rodgers, and he was asking Aaron, like, why do teams don't want to do that? And like you said, Aaron said it the same thing. Many teams view it as a distraction.
Yeah, and he's right. We'll see what happens. That was actually pretty funny how he entered that Leo Schreiber. He's a great actor, so it was pretty funny how he made his entrance there, to narrate. But yeah, like you said, so it's all going to depend on what they do this year and all this stuff. I know Mike Greenberg, he's losing his mind and whatnot. So that was actually pretty.
Yeah,
funny.
He's a Jets fan, so you know why.
Yeah, so of course, and look, It's gonna be interesting, for me in the sense, for them because, like you said, I mean, let me get their schedule up real quick. I mean, their schedule is those first few games are very tough right off the bat. I'll get it up in a second, but all this stuff. I mean, you can kind of see why they didn't want to do it. They host Buffalo in the opener. That's a in prime time. Then they got to go at Dallas. Then they host the Patriots. Then they got to go. Then they host the Chiefs. So that does help them a little bit. I'm sure that place is going to be rocking. Let's say it's going to be rocking that day. Then they go at Denver and they host Philadelphia. So that's not a cupcake schedule, folks. So
no, it's not.
So no.
Yeah, as you mentioned with. Go ahead.
Live, folks. No, I just want to say that, it's not. It's going to be tough. Yeah. It's going to be very tough. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just going to say was with all the expectations going on with that team, it's going to be pressure because on paper they're the de facto quote unquote second best team in that division behind Buffalo, as you mentioned, when they're going to host on opening night, September 11th. How ironic is that? But with Aaron Rodgers comes expectations, and I think Robert Saleh talked about that in that episode this week that. You got to embrace the expectations, ignore the outside noise, you kind of said that in paraphrase. I like to be hated on, all the pressure's on us. You have one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the game in this era. You're going to have expectations. So embrace it. You got to do a little bit more. What's next? I think that's our thing for this year. What's next?
Yeah, I think that's going to be really going to be the theme. And like you said, I mean, look, all this noise and stuff. I mean, look, if they have a great, if they start like maybe 6-0 might be a little bit of maybe a little bit, much of an expectation for them. But if they go like 4-2 or 5-1, I mean, look, New York media is going to be all over the place. Green is probably going to be running around the Get Up Studios naked. He won't, but I'm just saying. but I mean, I kind of feel like if not, I mean, if they go like 3-3 or worse. There's going to be, Green is going to be crying. There's going to be a lot of anarchy. So, yeah, I think if you're just to take 1 week at a time, look, you're not going to be able to, to pay attention to what's being said off the field and, what the New York radio and New York television is going to say. So they're going to say what they want. We'll try to have somebody on, perhaps maybe, to see how that goes. But yeah, gonna get interesting. So, so we'll see what happens.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. Lakina hanging out here with you on a fun Friday edition. I cannot talk either, but continue with our football discussion. This comes to us from SI.com, and Gilbert Manzano is the author. He says, here's your top 10 defensive linemen ranked from 10 to 1 right now in the National Football League. He has at number 10, Dexter Lawrence from the New York Giants. Check it in at number 9.
Got a big payday. No, you got a big payday.
I was just going to say that, but I'm glad you said it first. Jeffrey Simmons from the Tennessee Titans. The Bears may or may not see him tomorrow. We'll see. Number 8, Max Crosby, edge rusher from the Las Vegas Raiders. I really like him a lot. He's been coming on for the last couple of years.
So do I. Yeah, I really like him a lot.
Number 7, Quentin Williams from the New York Jets. He really got a big payday too, yes. I think.
Yeah, he got his payday, and we'll just see how he does. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot. I know everyone's talking about the offense for the Jets, as they should, but that defense, I mean, you've got a really solid front seven. We are led by Williams, so we'll see how they do as they go. And I'm sure, if the offense has a bad day, the defense got to pick up the slack and vice versa. So we're going to see how that shakes out.
And number 6, TJ Watt from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Had some injury issues late last year, so again, the Steelers, some people say it could be a sleeper in that, that North Division, AFC North. So, we'll see. I mean, they may have some, coming up here, but, Mike Tomlin does. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, here's your top 5 list of top defensive linemen ranked for 2023, courtesy of SI.com. Number 5, Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs. I know currently he's a contract holdout. I'm sure he's going to get his money between now and the start of the season, because if he's MIA for the start of the season, that Kansas City team, at least defensively, they're in trouble.
Yeah. So, so I'm sure he'll get. I'm sure that they'll agree on. Even if it's got to be like in the slate of incentive latent deal, I think that's probably what they're going to have to agree upon. Because I don't think the last thing you want if you're the defending champs to have one of your top guys, not playing. So
exactly,
they better figure it out.
Number 4, Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. Probably one of the few bright spots from the Browns. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how they kind of mesh in that that new system. So yeah, I'll be interested to see how that, definitely gonna be looking for him. So he's been one of the few reliables on that Browns team. So
Yeah, number 3, Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys. I really like him. I like great find Jerry Jones.
yeah, I mean, that defense for the Cowboys, I think is actually pretty stacked. The offense, a little bit of a question mark. So
Yeah.
it could be interesting.
Number 2, Aaron Donald from the Los Angeles Rams. He's been hitting retirement for the last 2 or 3 years after struggling the previous 2-3 all seasons to get his money. He's finally received it, but he's been hinting retirement the last couple of years since that Super Bowl win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, he's been nicked up a little bit, and that Rams team is going through some transition issues as well, salary cap issues as well. So Aaron Donald's still at the top of his game as far as defensive lineman. And of course, this guy, I believe, is in a contract dispute as well. Number 1 is Nick Bosa from the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, he's not at camp right now. So that's another kind of like Joe's. They're going to have to figure out something too. They're kind of in. Yeah, that's going to be a thing too. I mean, look, that defense is stacked. With it, they're even better. They're good without him, but they're even better with him in it. So hopefully they'll figure things out. John Lynch and and his people. I'm talking about Bosa's people. So we'll see. I mean, yeah, that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I mean, I really like that. That's actually a good list. Defensive guys. Look, some of the top guys in the league. Like you said, a couple of those guys are in contract disputes right now. So. Hopefully Bosa and the Niners will figure it out because they really need him if they want to, get back to the promised land.
Yeah, so those are the top 10 defensive linemen to watch out for, courtesy of VastSide.com for this upcoming 2023 NFL season. You're listening to Second City Sports or Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina hanging out with you on this Friday afternoon or this weekend. It depends on what time you're listening to us. Thank you for joining us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but we're very appreciative and very happy that you taking time of your busy weekend schedule to spend it with us. All right, Lakina, they moved this a few weeks ahead. I'm talking about the Basketball Hall of Fame ceremony and induction. Of course, it's going to take place this weekend in Springfield, Massachusetts. It's the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame, as you ignorant bastards want to call it. It's the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame. Get it right, damn it. I had to get out of my system. Sorry. But, the Basketball Hall of Fame, the 2023 class will be inducted this weekend. Highlighted names are included in this: Tony Parker, Chicago's very own Dwayne Wade, and Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, pretty impressive list there. I mean, I'll talk about D-Wade for a second. I don't think people really appreciate a lot of the accomplishments that D-Wade did. I mean, of course, he won 3 championships. Of course, people forget that. It's easy for folks to forget that, yes, he won 2 with Bosh and LeBron, but people forget that he actually won 1 first with Shaq. So I think
6, yep.
Well, 6, yeah. So it'll be interesting, to see. Like, I know he's gonna have a really, sweet, nice speech there. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting speech there as well. It is weird that they did move it up. I don't know. I think it might be for a conflict. I guess maybe that's probably why they decided to move it up this year. Usually they have it in September. I don't know why they moved it up about a month, but I guess I figured since they had to do 2 a couple of years ago, I guess they figured like, okay, well, let's just, kind of get it over and done with there. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm interested to see how this speech is going to be. I mean, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to his speech. Dirk Nowitzki, I mean, look, we know that it is just like, I know he's been waiting for this moment for years now. I know he's going to have his speech ready, and I kind of feel like he's a guy that's definitely going to have to appreciate taking the moment. So it'll be interesting to see who he gets to present him, because I know that we probably won't know until they actually do the presenting, but you'll be able to see. And also, same with D-Wade too. I think Pat Riley's probably going to present him too, because I think even Riley said that he's the best. That D-Wade is the best Heat of all time. Do you agree with him on that?
Ooh, I think it's pretty close, but I probably have to agree. I know LeBron James wasn't there long enough. He was there 4 years. Of course, he has Glenn Rice and Steve Smith, not shabby players themselves, but he has those 2 beat by a mile. So. And like I said, the only player that come close to D-Wade, and he was actually on this team in 2006, fellow Hall of Famer Alonzo Mourning.
Yeah. Probably you could say 1 and 1A there. So yeah, I'm looking That'll be interesting what he does. Of course, that's going to be a really cool moment there. Of course, Dirk as well. I think that's probably interesting to see how he's going to feel about all this. Tony Parker. He's the last of that big three for the Spurs to get in. I know he's gonna be a one I think they won like 4 titles together. I think Parker did. So with manager, of course, Tim Duncan. So we'll see either one of them presenting him tomorrow night. That should be a fun one. Also, Pau Gasol. That's gonna be a very emotional moment, especially once he starts talking about Kobe.
Yeah.
So you think that that's gonna be a really nice moment there. Also to Gene Katie, who of course the former head coach for Purdue. That's good. I know he's gonna take a kick out of it. So I know he's gonna have a lot.
I don't think he ever reached the Final Four, did he?
No, he was close a couple of times. Yeah, he had a couple of teams that were close, but was never ever made to the Final Four, unfortunately. So
yeah, he coached a lot of great players during his time at Purdue. Of course, Glenn Big Dog Robinson, Brian Cardinal, to name a few. So I thought he was one of the best coaches at that time in the Big Ten. Like you say, he just couldn't reach the summer.
Yeah, that was a I think he has about 13 or 14 Big Ten titles. I might be off on that, but wasn't made the tournament multiple times. He was close. He made the Elite Eight a couple of times. But unfortunately just couldn't get there. And that's just but look, he had a lot of I'm sure Big Dog Robinson will be there. I'm sure Brian Cardinal, a lot of the other guys that will be there. They coach, so we'll just see how those guys look now. But yeah, it should be a great Hall of Fame. So you guys can check it out on NBA TV. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, Lakina, since we have a couple of minutes left before we break for the bottom of the hour, what is your most famous play from Dwayne Wade? What is your best memory of Dwayne Wade outside the championships? Because I remember once listening to Mark Silverman on ESPN 1000. And of course, he does a great job with Tom Wow in the afternoon in Chicago on ESPN 1000. And he said this at the time. I think when the Basketball Hall of Fame presents Dwayne Wade, when they get those video footages, he said this years ago, when they do those video montages, they're going to put that game where he beat the Bulls in 2009. Remember the time that Johnny Ray Kerr and Norvan Lynn passed away, and the Bulls wore those specially patched jerseys for the rest of that 2008-09 season. Dwayne Wade, I think, hit a game-tying three-pointer, I believe it was, and then he hit the game-winner overtime. And it was in Miami. He stood over the scores. He was like, "This is my house. This is my house." I'll be shocked if they didn't show that tomorrow.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will as part of those montages. Yeah. I would probably say, other than the championships, oh boy, you're putting me on the spot. I gotta say the Olympics. He has 3 gold medals. Well, 3 gold medals.
He was part of that Redeem team in 2008.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, people forget. I saw Freddie Coleman from ESPN Radio. Congrats to him, by the way. He and Chris Candy are gonna be doing a show together. So congrats. We'll probably talk about that later after the break. But yeah, he came off the bench for that 2008 Redeem team. It's shot 67%. He was a big reason why they were able to redeem themselves and win, that gold medal, take back the gold medal. So I think people forget he actually had we know Carmelo had a great Olympic record, but D Wade had a pretty nice one too. So I think people forget, how you appreciate how good he was, with him and Kobe and LeBron and the rest of that group. So I think that's probably my favorite moment of his, when he does a lot of the Olympic stuff. And also too, when I first saw him at Marquette. I saw him. They made it all the way to the Final Four, and I remember Tom Crean. I'm sure Tom Crean will be there tomorrow night. I'm sure. And I remember he said that at first, I think Marquette was the only scholarship that was offered D Wade to Marquette, and he was able to kind of accept that, and was able to, of course, the rest was history there. So that's probably one of my moments when he was in the Olympics when he was in college at Marquette, because he kind of For that brief moment, Marquette, kind of came back to promise a little bit, and from when it went to the Final Four.
I'm glad you brought that up, because, like you said, Marquette was struggling for a while. Of course, they were relevant when we were kids, looking at around the time we were born. Of course, they were struggling for a while to get some national identity. And then when Dwayne Wade came there, he put them back on the map with that. With that trip to the Final Four, I believe that was back in 2003, and where their Final Four was in New Orleans before they lost out. But like you said, you saw the talent that he had. Of course, the franchise was his when he was drafted by the Miami Heat. Of course, remember the Bulls were 2 spots behind them, And I believe that there were John Paxson at the time was going to draft him, but Miami beat him.
Trying to trade. Yeah, I think they were trying to trade up too. I think, but I think they weren't able to do it. I think because I guess they had heard that Miami was trying to get him, but was going to get him, but they were trying to trade up to get him, but they couldn't do it. I guess they didn't like the packages ever being offered. So
right, and of course they selected Kurt Heinrich. Talking about the Bulls, of course, Wade teamed up with Shaq. Of course, Shaq. No one knew it at the time, but I thought the Lakers did the right thing by trading him to Miami because he was on the downside of his career. Of course, the 05 season, Shaq looked good, but of course, in the middle of those finals, Shaq didn't have it anymore, and Dwayne Wade took that team on his back and carried them to that 06 championship for the Miami Heat. Of course, we talked about what he did with Wade and Bosh a few years later. Of course, Dirk Nowitzki. Yeah, he's probably going to go down as, if not the best, one of the best European 7-footers ever. I know Giannis Antetokounmpo, before you start yelling at me, is knocking at the door. Yes. And rightfully so. He'll probably be up. I'm sure he's going to be up there when his career is done. But as of right now, Dirk Nowitzki, he had that Larry Bird type game. Of course, he's more athletic than Larry Bird. But not only that, he could post you up and shoot the J, but he can drive to the basket as well and finish with ferocity. And you saw him develop with Steve Nash early in his career. Of course, 06 Dirk Nowitzki, he was getting there to be that big top guy, but of course that Dallas Mavericks team lost that 2-0 series. It wasn't all his fault, obviously, but of course 5 years later they would get their revenge, beating the Heat. And you saw the full circle of Dirk Nowitzki in that series.
Yeah, you saw how he had to go away from the floor for a second to kind of like, sort of savor the moment. He was, broke down in tears. I mean, I think he was exhausted, I think, mentally. And I think that was sort of, he kind of felt that, a big weight has been lifted off his shoulders because he was getting to that point where, he's going to be one of those good, great players that didn't win a championship. So glad that he was able to kind of, get rid of that moment there. Of course, Paul Gasol played for the Bulls for a little bit. Of course, he played in Memphis when they moved to Memphis. Of course, been other places too, but of course went to the Lakers, won a couple of championships with Kobe and Derek Fisher and the rest of that group. And like I said, I'm sure once he mentions Kobe, I'm sure he's already said that he's probably gonna lose it. He's already said in the various places that he's gonna lose it. So
Kobe toughened him up a little bit.
He did.
And Powell said in many interviews, it helped him a lot. And you saw what happened on the floor.
Yeah, and he said he was like his brother. He's like a brother. Of course, we know Mark, his brother Mark was a great player in his own right. But yeah, Kobe was like a brother to him. So I know it's going to be a nice little sweet moment there. And Tony Parker, I mean, look, we kind of sort of, roll our eyes at those Spurs teams back in those 2000s Spurs teams. But you can't really deny how dominant those teams were with him and Tim Duncan and Ginobili, of course, and Pop being over at the helm too. I'm sure Pop's probably gonna be coaching until he's about like 90 now. So I'm sure they'll all be there tomorrow too to help Parker celebrate. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at that. And like I said, Gene Katie, of course, and on the college side wasn't able to, like I said, I think it was like 14 or 15 Big Ten titles, wasn't able to get to the to the Final Four, unfortunately, but I'm sure he'll probably make fun of it too. I'm knowing him, so he'll actually be pretty funny. And the comb over has stood the test of time. It's a little bit grayer now, but he still has a comb over. So
the Homer Simpson look.
Yes,
I'm bad, but it's all good.
A little grayer, but it still has it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you mentioned Tony Parker. He was the MVP of the 07 NBA Finals against a young LeBron James. Of course, that Cleveland Cavaliers team, that was patchwork that went to the finals that year.
And that East wasn't very good either that year.
No, it wasn't. And that was the first year the Bulls had Ben Wallace. And you saw what happened in the playoffs. They lost to the Pistons in the second round. But we won't talk about that. Of course, disaster will strike now Hall of Fame Ben Wallace and that Bulls organization the following season. We won't get into that.
No.
But Tony Parker played well in that series. He was stellar throughout his career with the Spurs. I know he finished that last year with Charlotte, but no one cares. But remember looking after the 03 NBA Finals, it was the San Antonio versus New Jersey. And there was some rumors out there that Popovich was thinking about trading him for Jason Kidd. It was some truth to that, but let's be honest here. No one really thought that was going to happen. Of course, it didn't end up happening. You saw what happened.
Right, exactly. So I don't, yeah, so I think that might have been. I think that Pop might have been trying to scare him a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I took it
how
to at the time. Yeah.
yeah, I think you know how weird, how how Pop's mind works. So he might have been trying to scare
Mm-hmm.
him a little bit. I'm sure if you ask him, he'll probably admit that. But yeah, I don't think But I heard about that rumor about the Parker versus Kidd trade. But like I said, I'm sure he's glad that didn't happen. So they were able to actually win another title. So. I mean, look, I mean, it's going to be great. I mean, you can check it out on NBA TV. I believe it's 7:00 our time tomorrow, or maybe 6:30. I'm not sure, but yeah, check it out on NBA TV. And of course, if you miss it, don't worry, it'll be on YouTube. All the speeches will be on YouTube, so you guys, you're all covered.
Yep, and we'll talk about those speeches on Monday on this fabulous program. All right, Lakina, last time out of the show for the weekend and for today and for the weekend, as we'll get into a lot of sports media news, and I'm sure a whole lot more news nuggets and a whole lot more fun. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You're listening to Second City Sports, live in the living color, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're about to close it out following this timeout.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this fun Friday Fun edition. This is our last break of the show for today and for the weekend on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can find me Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
We have less than 25 minutes left or so in this show for today. As I mentioned, you want to get those last minute questions or comments in, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, Sid, again, you're on the driver's seat this time. Where do you want to go when it comes to sports media news? Where do you want to go first?
Miss Diana Rossini was a longtime ESPN reporter for the NFL, and she did Sports Center, hosted NFL-related shows on that network. She looks like she's leaving to go to the Athletic to join them full-time to be their NFL insider.
Yeah, it's not going to involve a lot of travel. Remember, she's got 2 young sons, so I'm wondering, did that play a little bit of a part? No, there's not going to be a lot of travel. She's still going to be able. You're still going to see her in various forms. I'm sure you'll probably still see her. You probably just won't see her on TV. Sorry, gentlemen, unfortunately. So, yeah. Well, you know how sicko some guys are sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I think she felt this was the best decision for her, and it's kind of came out of nowhere, I don't think, because we just saw her just earlier this week. So it's interesting. It's kind of interesting that she decided to go to this route. Of course, this is according to Andrew Marchand from New York Post was the first to relay the news. So what do you think? I mean, look, I guess this means more Courtney Corden and Brooke Pryor. I mean, that's not a a bad trade off. They're both good at what they're both good too. So not a big trade off. But what do you think?
Yeah, you're going to see Diana Rossini do a couple of podcasts here and there for the Athletics. So you're not going to see her as much as you say on the screen, but she's a heck of a reporter, heck of an insider. She'll do a great job for the Athletic. But on the flip side, like you said, it's going to give more opportunities for Kimberly Martin, Jeff Darlington, like I said, Courtney Cronin, Chicago girl who covers the Bears for ESPN. So and to get more exposure. So it's only going to benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, so a big loss for ESPN, but like you said, I think I can understand why she decided to do it. And look, like you said, she's still gonna be doing podcasts, so it's not like you won't see her. You just won't see her as much. You'll still hear her, you'll still read her stuff. But yeah, I think, like I said, this is probably not as much travel and everything else. So yeah, I think this was the best. She felt this was the best decision for her. So, but good for her.
Okay, continuing on the television front, the FS1 Fox Sports 1 show Undisputed will return on August 28th with the cast featuring Skip Bayless, Rachel Nichols, Richard Sherman, and rapper Lil Wayne, and rumored to be on that same Four Horsemen train, Michael Irvin or Keyshawn Johnson.
I have no words. I mean, Rachel Nichols and the whole fiasco with her and Maria Taylor and ESPN. We won't rehash that, but look, Google's your friend, folks. I'm a little okay. Richard Sherman, I get because that rumor's been going around for the last few months. Lil Wayne, again, same thing. I mean, we've heard those rumors for the last few months. We saw him do it with Skip, when they were on First Take. So, that his first rodeo. They're either Keyshawn or Irvin. I mean, I think Keyshawn, I don't know. Do you want to do? I guess the way they're gonna do. I guess they're gonna spread it out a little bit. I think Nichols is gonna be, I guess, the regular 2, and I guess they're gonna alternate between, Richard Sherman, who's gonna be doing his stuff with Amazon Prime, and Keyshawn and Irvin, whoever they decided to do, and of course with Lil Wayne and Skip. What could go wrong?
I know Lil Wayne does that theme song for that show. I'm sure it's going to be an updated version, I assume. But as far as the actual show is concerned, I think from what I've read and heard that Skip was trying to do what Skip Bayless, what the Steve Nail was trying to do with First Take with ESPN, is bringing various co-hosts. But I think this can work if it's developed properly. I will say this for Skip Bayless: if this, as we said before, Lakina, if this is the last legs for Undisputed, Skip Bayless is a competitive guy. He's going out with a bang, no pun intended. So I think you got reputable people. Of course, Richard Sherman is going to be the primary co-host there, and Rachel Nichols, especially when basketball season starts. And she can talk about other sports as well, because she covered over the sports when she was at Turner and ESPN previously. So she'll be fine. But me personally, I want them to see to get Michael Irvin, because that would shoot Steak and Stephen A. Smith's heart as far as those folks over there at ESPN. If Skip Bayless could, if folks at Fox Sports can convince Michael Irvin to go over there, I think you'll really get more eyeballs on that program, and there you can really get First Take a run for their money. Because let's be honest here, even if First Take is getting their ratings, Lakina, not too many people are watching them. Even before Max Kellerman got booted off that show, not too many people are talking about them and watching them as they once did many years ago.
Yeah, and I think people are starting to see that maybe they don't want to watch those types of shows on a regular basis. I mean, you can catch this stuff on YouTube or on various videos on social media, but unless it's somebody you really want to watch, I mean, do you really want to watch First Take every day or Undisputed every day? Oh, I don't even watch. I don't watch a full episode anyway, so I'm like, this doesn't really matter to me. But I guess it's sort of one last ditch effort to try to save the show. I'm talking about Undisputed, so we'll see. But I guess I'm just gonna leave it there.
Okay. Just before we continue, just a note here from our good folks at awfulannouncing.com. Pac-12 reportedly turned down $30 million per school annual offer from ESPN in the fall of 2012. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
I saw this morning. I'm like, oh, well, okay, well, that's what you get, Pac-12. Now I see why Oregon and Washington and the other schools left. We already UCLA, they were already gone to the Big Ten, but to say that you wanted $50 million, apparently they wanted $50 million. Like, you weren't going to get that much. Like, did they really think that? And then I think they got about $20 million from Apple. I'm sure all the other schools are probably like, I forget this. So sorry, Pac-12.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all dropped the ball, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, keeping with that college football theme, hometown band. I'm not gonna say favorite, but to many they are. I know of them, but I don't listen to their music as much. But I know they're from the Chicagoland area. Fall Out Boy, they'll do the theme song for the NBC Saturday night Big Ten college football coverage.
Yeah, it should be interesting how they kind of present this. I mean, I know Fall Out Boy is more of a kind of a fusion, so they have a little bit of rock, a little bit of pop, and even a little bit of kind of like a little bit of hip hop too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they put their own spin on it, because this is gonna be an original theme, so it's not gonna be like an updated theme. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it's gonna sound.
Yeah, and also too, we'll talk about this more as we get closer to their premiere date during Labor Day weekend in September. But of course, you have Catherine Tappan, who she did well over the years with hockey. Of course, she did well with the Notre Dame coverage. I think she still will be on there this year. I'm not sure, but she's going to be there. Maria Taylor, of course, Noah Eagle, who you interviewed a couple of years ago, he's going to be the face of that. And I think Ty Blackledge is on the primary analyst on there as well. And so I want to see how that crew presents these games and how NBC presents it to the public.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that. And no statistic correction said Zora Stevenson, a sister, she's been doing it she did it last year. She's gonna be doing it again this year with Jack Collinsworth and Jason Garrett for the Notre Dame.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because she left Milwaukee's. Milwaukee. Yeah. I know Catherine Tappan was doing it for years prior.
She was doing it for years. Yeah, but I think I think they moved her to because
the Big Ten.
Yeah. So and
the Big Ten. Yeah, Zora Stevenson will replace her on the Notre Dame coverage. Yeah.
So.
Congratulations to. I meant to say that the other day. I saw that. Yeah, she left the Milwaukee Bucks, and now she's going to do it for Notre Dame on NBC. Congratulations to Miss Stevenson. She did a great job covering the Bucks for the last few years. She'll do a great job covering Notre Dame for NBC, the football team.
Yep. So, any more sports media news? I know we got more and more stuff coming about just Second City Sports. I'm Sports in Chicago, Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you.
Yeah. Anything else you want to get out of your system before we talk about the 50th anniversary of hip hop?
Yeah. I don't like this guy, but I feel like I've got to mention it. Colin Cowherd and his I don't want to say blunder, because I think that was just stupid. I mean, he had if you guys saw this earlier this week, he had a list of QBs that couldn't win the Super Bowl. On that list was Dwayne Haskins. He died over a year ago. Like, what? Wait, what? Was that just a lazy? I know Boomer Esiason said on his show this morning, like, was he just being lazy? Was just being just a total idiot? Like, how the heck do you miss? That is the dumbest thing. Oh God, just thought I mentioned that before. I want to get that out of my system.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lakina. You know, if you're doing TV or radio shows or podcasts like we're doing, you know, you have production meetings before every show. You go over all the topics and certain points you want to relate to your audience. And whoever didn't catch that, you know, I know Colin Cowherd gets a lot of blame because his face is on the show and he talks the majority of the time. And I get that. But whoever the producers and the researchers were didn't catch that, shame on them. They get just as much as the blame.
Probably get more of the blame too. I mean, were they trying to be funny with that? I mean, that's like, and I'm sure his family was not very happy with that either. So now, if you or I would have made a mistake like that, we'd be out. Since he's making 7 figures, I mean, whatever. But you know, I digress. But let's talk about something a little bit because I want to talk about this too. The NFL Plus has. If you saw NFL Plus, it's the app that you get on your phone. You can download it wherever you get your apps for a fee each month. It will now include the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone. Of course, Scott Hansen, of course, the host of NFL Red Zone, made the announcement yesterday. So, like you said, Sid, I mean, people need options, and I think this is sort of another way to get people to kind of like, you know, get more folks to go on the NFL app. Of course, you have a 7-day free trial, of course, you know, during the season. And I think also too with what's happening over there with YouTube TV with the Sunday Ticket, I think the NFL wants to kind of get their barracks and keep all their bases covered, just in case.
Yes,
you know, just saying.
Yes, and also too, I believe with that NFL Plus package, I think you still get the all 22 film of all the games that are played for that week, and you get some exclusive NFL films or programming that's not aired on the NFL Network, ESPN, or anywhere else. So, as we said before, with streaming services and packages like that, for the money that people shell out for these services, you got to give them more than what they normally expect. And what products do you have with your company that you can't get nowhere else?
Yeah, of course, the standard package for NFL Plus is $6.99, and the premium will be increased because I think it was $12.99. Now it's going to be $14.99. So, so for folks who, if you guys want another option, you got another premium. So you know, if you guys didn't get a chance, if you want to get a 7-day free trial, you can do that during the season if that's how you want to keep it. But yeah, just want to get that a little bit out there right quick because I think like the NFL kind of wants to make sure they get as many eyeballs as possible with the cord cutters, especially. So,
that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yep, that's the reason. Yep.
All right, Lakina, let's end this Second City Sports Friday edition with some memories and some reflection as this year, but especially this date. I'll ask you what this date is, why this is significant. But this weekend, it marks the official 50th anniversary for the musical art form of hip hop. Of course, Lakina, I don't know if you watched it this morning, but I was watching Good Morning America, and they had Busta Rhymes, Remy Ma. I thought she just disappeared, but no shade to her. But she was on there, and Fat Joe looking good. He's still a big guy.
He looks a little bit small, a little simple.
Yeah, not something. I heard that he lost some weight by a song. I was like, okay, he's looking like the late great Heavy D, but he looks good. Look better than he did when he came out 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago. If you go back to the mid 90s when he originally came out, I know sometimes I jump all over the place, but I don't know if you saw Fat Joe's unsung episode on TV1.
I did.
He said when he came out in the mid 90s, blacks and Latinos knew who he was. When he finally started to pop in the early 2000s, that's when white people started to notice. I said, like, that is true. That is true. But I saw some of the performances on GMA this morning. Of course, mainstream America has taken the culture of hip hop and made money off of it, and you know, like you say, everything else is just been mainstreamed out for the last, in my opinion, for the last 25, 30 years. And you see the culture of hip hop, not just in the music, but in sports and in fashion as well. And just not to jump all over the place, but with the NFL on Fox celebrating its 30th year coming up this fall, I remember they were the first, if not the first TV station to play hip hop instrumentals over their feature stories. Remember, no one else was doing it at the time. Maybe the closest thing to it was Inside Stuff, and they was using hip hop music and jam session, when they're showing the plays of the week. But Fox was really the first station to do that. Of course, ESPN is now with today's hip hop, they're doing it, of course, with regularity. But one of the anchors asked Busta Rhymes, so what can you say about hip hop? I don't know if you caught it this morning. And he said, I don't know I can put it into words, but, from the not just the music, but the fashion and the language, it's all about being yourself. And he was at a loss for words, and that crowd there in New York City started cheering. And I said, we're living in, I think Ice-T, the rapper and actor, said it best. We're living in I'm just paraphrasing here. We're living in a modern day of era of rock and roll. Remember rock and roll, of course, all the naysayers saying, oh, this kind of music wouldn't last. Of course, it branched out into other different things like disco, heavy metal and alternative rock. And of course, out of the birth of disco came hip hop and Brit pop and what we see and hear today. And so, music is forever changing. And with all the other art forms, Sakina, that is making money, hip hop has made the most money over these last 25, 30 years, in my opinion.
Well, if you remember too, when hip hop first came out, you could probably say it was the 70s going into, it was more localized, right? You had New York and sort of in the those big, sort of like, that was before like the beatboxes and stuff like that. Of course, Los Angeles, they had like their own stuff. Here in Chicago, we had our own stuff too, with the various ways, with the beatboxing and those types of things. And that kind of sort of what really took off was during the early 80s. If you remember, in the early years of the Big East, if you remember, that had a lot to do with some of the Grandmaster Flash and those guys, and it's definitely one of those things where you kind of like, that's when everything kind of sort of like intertwining. And I think of course remember Georgetown and those teams back in the early 80s especially, that was a lot of their influence was through hip hop. I'm sure if you ask you ask Patrick Ewing, you ask Eric Sleepy Floyd, Reggie Williams, and those guys. I mean, hip hop was really like their thing, and that was if you ask them now. I know Coach, God rest his soul, John Thompson, said it, back in the day that some people, he felt that was probably the reason why they didn't really like that team, was because their influence, they had hip hop influences around them. So that might have been why they weren't really liked for a little bit. I think that's just kind of putting that out there. But as everything kind of started evolving, you started seeing groups like NWA. That's when they really kind of took off. That's when, if you saw a lot of the Caucasian kids in the burbs, because back in the burbs were mostly Caucasian, if not all Caucasian, that's when they started listening to hip hop and
thanks
stuff
to
like
MTV.
That. Yep, and remember MTV they didn't show a lot of those hip hop artists,
right? Not in the beginning, no.
Not in the beginning, and it wasn't until, of course, Aerosmith and Run DMC, of course, Walk This Way, little kind of like a little, collaboration there. That's when things started changing. They started taking out, talking about Run DMC, and of course, Aerosmith was already established. They had been established for about a decade, because they've been established since the early 70s. But that was when Run DMC started to take off. That's why you started seeing more groups like Houdini and those types of groups, and of course, Nate Dogg and Tribe Called Quest. I mean, especially now when BET came with Rhapsody. I mean, all that, and Yo MTV Raps. I mean, everything kind of started, sort of collaborating. It all became like building and building. And that's where we see it today. I know some people will say, oh, it's, we have Eminem and Macklemore, people say, oh, they're stealing our music, blah, blah, blah. Look, the thing about hip hop and with every other music genre, everybody should be welcomed. No one should be pushed aside just because they're a different race or a different religion or whatever. I remember when Fat Joe first came along, I know there were some people that felt that maybe, brown folks, Hispanic people shouldn't be, doing hip hop or whatever. So, hip hop has a weird way had a weird way, especially even now, bringing people together and, getting more people that probably wouldn't listen to hip hop. So there you go.
Yeah. And also too, let's keep it real. Hip hop culture is more appreciated and celebrated in respectful ways overseas than it is here in America. We can dive really deep into that. We won't do it here today, but they appreciate it. It's more, the true art form is more appreciated overseas than it is here in America. But like I said, we won't dive deep into that today. We'll do that subject at another time. But keeping with the sports thing of it, Lakina, of hip hop, of course, the White Sox, remember they did the whole good guys wear black. Of course, you go to White Sox tour, they did an updated video about that, with the black and white not helmets, but the hats.
Yeah.
And of course, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre wore them in their videos. Remember Jodeci, the R&B group, they did it as well.
Yes.
And of course, the LA Kings, the hockey team, they changed their colors from purple and yellow to black and silver because of the Los Angeles Raiders. Of course, as Lakina mentioned earlier, NWA, the hip hop group, they wore Raiders colors to show that they were tough. And rapper and actor Ice Cube said in previous interviews that the Raiders represented the attitude that they had at the time. Of course, the hockey team, the LA Kings, I just mentioned, they changed their colors prior to training for Wayne Gretzky before the 88-89 season, and so the Kings changed their colors. So hip hop and sports and marketing has always gone together, and at that time, the sports marketing was just taking it off, and the White Sox definitely benefited from that. As I mentioned, the hockey team, the LA Kings, definitely benefited from that. As we transition over to the NBA and their relationship with hip hop music, everybody thinks that today, with them knowing their audience as hip hop, has been a new phenomenon. No, this goes back to the early 90s with all those home videos with Jam Session, and of course the weekly segments on NBA Inside Star with Jam Session. Many of those songs that they had the best slam dunks and best plays of the week featured hip hop music. That's where the culture was at the time, and that's where not just black music was at the time, but that's where popular music was at the time, with Ice Cube, MC Hammer. Is Lakina mentioned Houdini, and some of those solo acts. Big Daddy Kane came out in the late 80s into early 90s. So the hip hop has really influenced fashion, sports, and just everyday life, a language for not just for black and brown kids, but for everybody can relate to and find their own lane and their own identity within the culture. And it's grown to be a big, huge phenomenon, and you just can't be more prouder. I'm not going to get into my personal views on today's music because this is not the place for that. I'll get into that part another time. But just where from hip hop, the birth of it has come from the gritty streets of New York City, music-wise, to a global phenomenon. It's just a beautiful thing, and it's influenced everything from business to, like I said, to sports and to everyday life. It's just like everybody's affected by one way or another. As Lakina rejoins me to finish out this segment, you were talking about the music being appreciated all over the world and not so much being embraced here in America because of all the other elements. But as I talked about before you rejoined me, sports stars are now starting to get into hip hop culture a little bit more, in particular the NBA.
Yeah, I think like you said, I think it's interesting for me. I think, well, like you said, I mean, hip hop and sports has always had like a great sort of like intertwining. So I kind of feel like you saw what happened with wherever those Bulls championships. I mean, you saw a little bit of the hip hop kind of a revolution there. You saw how well, look, especially with the NBA, like you said, with inside stuff and all of that. And look, I kind of feel like this is sort of when hip hop kind of went to a whole nother level. It started becoming more mainstream because the NBA started using it. Like you said, you were talking about with the Kings. I mean, people forget the Kings' original colors were purple. When it came on in the 70s, it wasn't until I think what was it, like the late 80s, that they changed their
when Wayne Gretzky was traded there. Yep.
When NWA was becoming a big, it turned out that Ice Cube was actually a big Kings fan. So that was one of the reasons why they changed the colors. So hip hop and sports have always kind of like have married each other well. You saw some of the other stuff that's been going on. You got the dances that from the hip hop culture and things like that. Naughty by Nature, like I said, Grandmaster Flash way back in the 80s. Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J. I mean, all those sort of those artists influence the way the hip hop is sort of culture is kind of it's a little bit more mixed now and is more embraced overseas than it is here. But look, however you feel about hip hop, I think you cannot doubt how much of a sort of the influence it has on pop culture, whether people like it or not.
Yeah, and like I said, all other forms of music were set the precedent to what it is now, not just with the sampling from the old stuff, but just the way things are presented now in everyday culture and everyday life. So, like I said, hip hop for right now, we're living in an interesting and modern time. So it's the modern day rock and roll, which is influenced everybody. And so, like I said, it's all about bringing people together and having a good time, and just people should take time out just to learn their history, because I think, like you said, Lakina, some things are getting thrown out there to divide people and to throw people off, and which is never a good thing. And so it's all about know your history, know your culture, but it's all about bringing people together, having a good time. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, nothing's wrong with that. Look, the NFL has embraced hip hop now. Of course, they got that partnership with Jay-Z. The NHL is actually, starting to embrace hip hop too. I mean, the MLB, you could probably say they could do a little bit of a better job. Maybe you could get more African Americans to play baseball if you kind of embrace hip hop a little bit more. But hey, I digress. But yeah, I mean, look, hip hop's everywhere. So and sampling, we won't get into any of that because that gets a little bit too too involved there. But look, I mean, you can't, like you women say, you can't doubt the hip hop culture and the influence of it. So that was a lot of fun. I know that we're seeing great songwriters and stuff like that. Of course, Busta Rhymes, they get showing people why he's one of the all-time great hip hop artists ever. It's great to see him back out there, touring and whatnot. I mean, I know Questlove is supposed to be producing something too before the end of the year. About the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So yeah, so I'm sure there's gonna be specials and all that stuff. So make sure you guys check it out. And if you missed it when it aired, I'm sure you'll go to if you missed that little hip hop tribute on GMA, it's on YouTube. It's on their YouTube page. So you guys can check it out there.
All right, Lakina, close us out.
You can follow me, Keena McGee, on the Twitter, X, and Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast at Warp Media Podcast. That's WARR Media. PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, give Warp Media a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. exclusively here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Salute to hip hop. Catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago.
And also to remember, we catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. You can catch us, catch anytime you want. Just go to your Play Store, whether Google, Apple, whatever Play Store you have. Type in, get the Roku app. Type in Sports Zone Chicago. It's all right there for you. You catch our show, Sean and Maya. Hopefully the Smoke Fellas will be back soon. I'm hoping. And also,
I think they will tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. And What's Up Cuz as well. So hopefully they'll be back next week too. I'm sure there's going to be some other stuff coming down the pack as well, especially with football season coming up. But yeah, anytime, anywhere you want, catch Sports Zone Chicago, available on Roku TV.
All right, and yours truly will enjoy the weekend. I'll be down there at Sox Park. Things should be interesting one way or the other. Hopefully the nonsense will calm down at that point, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I know that many of you guys will be out at the Bears game tomorrow, including our guy Sean Sierra from Sean and Maya in the morning as they take on the Tennessee Titans in their preseason opener. So it's going to be a little bit hot tomorrow, but Sunday should be okay. Weather-wise, it's going to be great in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, Sunday should be a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, Sunday should be a little more comfortable, like you said. I mean, it might rain a little bit too, so make sure you guys be careful. We're going to go out there. But yeah, you get all the sports, all the great sports out there. You can catch, of course, the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. The Premier League's back in soccer, of course. I think WNBA is finishing up their season. You got the Women's World Cup quarterfinals. I think they started. I think late tonight. So if you guys want to, if you guys are still interested after the U.S. being eliminated, you should, if you want to check it out, go ahead. So a lot of great sports, but you got NFL preseason football. I know you guys will be watching that, but I think you guys want to admit it or not. So enjoy all the sports this weekend. Forrest did. I'm Lakia. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and don't worry, we'll be starting our division previews coming up next week. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. So Forrest said, I'm Lakia. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Da Bears, holla. All right. Woo.